What's going on, people? We are truly blessed on this Good Friday because we have got yet another TVZ series between a familiar face, Arteal Terran B-Breed, and a different Zerg player this time around. It's going to be the yellow Zerg, Kevin Lee. And yeah, I know it was a few weeks ago or something, but I'm gonna have to start a petition to change Good Friday to April 28th. I don't know who to send that to. Maybe the Pope, maybe Jesus Christ himself, but we are truly blessed today. And Kevin gonna be a bit of a different Zerg than B-Breed faced last time. Kevin does tend to be more of an aggressive player, likes to go for Mutalisks, likes to go for weird Roach Hydra compositions. It's certainly not a common or even good build, but somehow he makes it work against his opponent. We'll see if he has anything like that in store for us this time around. Gonna be a pretty standard hatch gas pool opening. B-Breed opening up on the low ground here. He's gonna want to wall this up relatively quickly just to prevent any Ling run-bys. Try to block potential Baneling busts. Gonna be following that up with a fast expansion. But I don't foresee B-Breed going for a super fast triple CC. I think he's going to be a little too scared of his opponent for something like that. And Reaper gonna be popping on out, making its way across the map. Now it does have a slightly shorter travel time because of this low ground barracks. I don't think that's really going to matter because Ling's already on the field. And we're just going to see that little Reaper versus Ling dance. Don't really expect to see any losses on either side. Kevin doing a good job pulling back the Lings that got shot. And Kevin did go for 6 Lings. Typically, you tend to see only 4, but 6 is perfectly fine as well. And Kevin with his signature, leaving the drones in his gas. Usually Zergs, of course, take 2 or even 3 out of that just to get some extra mineral income. And typically by now you would see Zergs with a 3rd base as well. So Kevin, of course, not really one to follow the conventional build orders. He is going to drop that down, but it is a bit later than it tends to be. I said I thought B-Breed wouldn't go for a triple CC, but he is doing that. Ling speed did finish up, and those Lings are going to take out that Reaper. So no scout later on. And that's going to give Kevin the map control for now, at least until the Hellions pop out. They do poke up the ramp. They see this wall. They see Marines. Of course, they see that reactor. So Kevin does have quite a bit of information. Now, kind of weird out of the Zerg player, his Overlord positioning absolutely poopy. Was looking for the word there, but I'm going to go with poopy. And yeah, look at this. Typically, Zergs, you want to have your Overlord here, you want to have a second one maybe out over here to fly in later, but Kevin doesn't really have any Overlords on the other side of the map. He's got a couple floating on in now, but doesn't really have that information of what his opponent has at the front of his base, when he's moving out. And that's just a mistake. He does this a lot. He has Overlords in weird random positions. They don't really make a whole lot of sense. He's got these floating on in now, and this one's gonna be in an okay spot to see when this third goes down, but he has no idea of these 6 Hellions making their way across the map now, and that could potentially do some damage if Kevin had droned up this third. Instead, they're not going to find any drones there. The front is walled off, but keep in mind, Kevin's essentially on 2 bases right now. This third doing absolutely nothing. So the economy is going to be favoring the Terran player probably just a little bit. He does have mules, of course. Kevin is going to be flying in that Overseer. Drops a Changeling as well. I don't know if B-Breed spotted that. Lift up on the factory? Okay, just going to be making a tech lab on that, and Scan goes down in the main base. Does not see the Spire that's being placed over here at the back of the Natural, so B-Breed doesn't get that important scouting information. Can he sniff this out? I mean, you can honestly just assume Kevin's going mutas most of the time, but B-Breed not really reacting. He does have double engineering bay. It's going to be very important for him to drop down missile turrets as soon as he's able, and this factory never landed to make that tech lab. Changeling still wandering around, spying on the Terran army. Kevin finally sending some drones over here onto this third base. 49 drones to 45 SCVs. Very close. That should be a wider margin for this matchup. But of course, Kevin not the type to go for the heavy macro. That Spire did complete, and we have 8 Mutalisks right away. Sometimes Zerg players will not get mutas right away, and that is just absolutely the wrong thing to do. Those Zerg players are garbage. Another criticism I have of Kevin is he doesn't have his bases connected. You've got these overlords here, just drop some creep. Not the hugest of deals, of course, but it does enable your queens to walk back and forth should they need to. Now we do have these Mutalisks making their way across the map. Are they going to be able to find some damage? Well, luckily for B-Breed, he does have missile turrets ready, so they won't be able to find too many SCV kills. Might find a few holes here and there, maybe get some damage done on the refinery. Takes out 3 SCVs, that's decent. Maybe a few Marines as well. Refinery does go down, but it certainly could have been a lot worse if these missile turrets were not ready. 4 SCVs, I think that's fine. I wouldn't be too mad about that as B-Breed. Of course, the Mutalisks do still maintain a lot of utility. They just kind of force the Terran to stay defensive. They can't go for drops. They have to be mindful of where they have these medevacs flying around, where they have siege tanks sieged up. They gotta have missile turrets on the edge of important structures and buildings. That's the same word, actually. But yeah, I think B-Breed's defense so far pretty good, and that is reflected in the supply, still very even. You do typically see the Zerg shoot up at this point. 64 drones to 55 SCVs. Still fairly even. Army supply going to be favoring B-Breed a bit. And keep in mind, Muta's not very good in the straight up fight. So here comes B-Breed with a big push. Some Hellions, a lot of Marines. And he's going to have to avoid the Banelings. And let's see how this is going to go. Where are the splash damage units? There's the first tank showing up. A little bit late to the party, but luckily Kevin hasn't been pulling the trigger yet. But here he comes. Tank is not ready, and that should be a fairly decent cleanup. But wait, where are the Banelings? It looks like he didn't have enough Banelings. 25 being morphed right now, but this is a huge window of opportunity for the Teal Terran as the third base gets evacuated. And B-Breed going to be taking out some of these morphing Banelings, but they do finish just in the nick of time to clean up most of the bio forces. And now the trickling lings should be enough to clean up the rest. And Kevin just barely holding there by the skin of his teeth. And luckily for him, this third base still standing. And he did preserve most of his drones, didn't evacuate them to this fourth base. So he could send some back over to that third now. Kevin looking in a pretty okay spot. Worker count still fairly even, but we have 12 more Mutalisks on the way, plus 1 flyer weapons is almost complete. And what is that going to be? 16 mutas. That is a lot of mutas. They can take on missile turrets. Still got to be mindful of the Mutalisks, the Marines, and of course Widow Mines wherever they are. We have 2 over here. But I do think Kevin should be able to find some decent damage with these 16 mutas. Now, Hive Tech already done. Ultralisk Cavern on the way. And Kevin gonna be teching up now. And that's gonna be pretty bad news for the Terran player. Mutalisk flying into the third base, gonna take out a depot, another refinery, just being super annoying. 5 SCV kills, that's something. And there's that missile turret going down super quickly. It's a 16 plus 1 attack mutas. Another refinery might be able to deny these upgrades and take out yet another missile turret. Some more SCVs going down. Wouldn't mind seeing him take out these engineering bays if only he knew how close they were to being completed. But B-Breed going for a counterattack, and Kevin deciding he needs to fly those mutas back home to defend. And here's the Terran player. This time his tanks are sieged. And this is going to be a very crucial defense for Kevin. His Ultralisk Cavern is done, but no Ultras on the field, and he's not even going to create any because they do take a while to make. And Kevin kind of thinking now how he should best engage this army. Mutalisks aren't going to be too impactful against all these Marines. Maybe he can find some fringe tanks here and there, but Kevin going to decide to maybe just pick off some reinforcements. And oh, maybe, no, not yet. Kevin's still biding his time. And I think that's the wise choice. Don't want to get too trigger happy. And here come the mutas. They do take out, I think, 2 siege tanks there. Nicely done, recognizing that the bio was out of position. Now he pulls the trigger with his Ling Bane army. And in he comes. Is it going to be enough? I think, yes, it should be. Mutas doing their part as well. Cleaning up some of the medevacs. And although a lot of them have fallen, this Terran army does get cleaned up. But still, decent damage by B-Breed. He took out this base, he took out a handful of drones, and that keeps the Zerg player on 3 bases. So a 3-base Terran against a 3-base Zerg. That's a pretty even game. Favoring the Terran, I would say. However, B-Breed is trailing in supply a bit, and these, what is that, 7 mutas? Still going to be able to... Oh, no, not if you do that. I was going to say, still might be able to find some damage here and there, but does lose 3 of them for free, and just a wayward pathing there. And B-Breed, I'm not really loving his army anymore. Ultralisks are taking the field, and we're going to need to see something more for the Terran player. Maybe Ghosts, maybe Liberators. I do think Ghosts are the better option, but more difficult to use, so I wouldn't fault him for just going for Liberators. 4 mutas, not too scary, but they still are going to be able to pick off a couple SCVs, and we're building missile turrets, just continuing to be super annoying. And the Marines do show up to push them back, but Kevin buying himself some very important minutes here. We don't really see any additional tech coming down for the Terran player. That has me a little bit worried. In terms of upgrades, they are quite good. 3-3 going to be finishing up soon for the Terran. But likewise, the Zerg player has +3 melee, +2 carapace as well. However, the +3 is nowhere to be seen, so that's a bit of a mistake, actually. Ultralisk, of course, have their chitinous plating upgrade. Yes, they do, and they also have that speed upgrade that makes them zippy boys. And here comes B-Breed once again with his tank bio push. Tanks are sieged up, and this is going to be another dicey engagement. How is Kevin going to handle this? I think he needs to go from multiple angles, but he's just going to go from one. The tank line, only 4. And is that going to be good enough? No, not at all, as there's no micro out of B-Breed. He just gets swallowed up by all the Zerg. There is a drop going down on this 4th base, taking out a bunch of drones, 13 going down, but I think most of these units are not going to be able to get out of here. The mutas, only 3 of them to deal with the medevac, so actually you might find some more damage in the natural base. Takes out a queen, maybe a few more drones. Just being really annoying is B-Breed, kind of giving Kevin a taste of his own medicine with those mutas from earlier. And now B-Breed actually going to be evacuating. Don't want to lose these medevacs. No, that one was full. And these other 2, are they going to go down as well? Yes, they do. Some poor control out of B-Breed, losing 3 full medevacs. That is brutal. Not really paying attention. And now Kevin on the counter offensive. What does B-Breed have? Not a whole lot. And are we going to see the end of this game right here, right now? It looks like B-Breed struggling to muster the units, and GG does get called. Kevin going to take a very scrappy game number 1. Welcome back, folks. This is game number 2 in this TVZ series between the Teal Terran, B-Breed, and this time in the red it is the Zerg player Kevin Lee. B-Breed expressing some frustration after that last game, calling for a best of 3. Hopefully it's a longer series than that. B-Breed does feel like doesn't stand much of a chance in this matchup against this player. However, we saw that game number 1 was actually fairly close for most of the game. So maybe B-Breed getting inside his own head a little bit, and that's quite unfortunate because mentality is a big part of this. If he feels like he can't stand up to his opponent, that could affect his gameplay. But it was a pretty decent game number 1 from both players, and B-Breed was able to hold his own for most of the game. Game number 2 now, once again, these overlords, why are they in these positions? Just kind of silly if you ask me, but what do I know? B-Breed once again opening up with the low ground supply depot and barracks. Going to be following it up with a command center now. There it goes. Reaper in production out of that barracks. And spawning pool, moments away from finishing up. I would expect to see 4 Zerglings, maybe 6 again. The double queens, well, doesn't quite have the minerals. Not sure what was his timing on those, because you do typically have just enough minerals to do double queens right away. They are a bit staggered. Not the hugest of deals, but Reaper gonna be coming on in. Lings are out already, so once again, no damage from either side. Ling speed on the way. Gas continuing to be mined. And no third yet. Which again is a bit odd, but Kevin is a bit odd himself. Factory with a reactor on it. Only one Hellion being made. B-Breed does have the money, so kind of a mistake there, not starting double Hellion right away. And Ling's gonna run out slow Lings before the speed even finished, and they get the Reaper once again. I think B-Breed's Reaper control has been kind of lacking. Should be using it to scout around, but he gets 0 information. The door is open, so 5 Lings find their way into the main base. Luckily there are 2 Hellions, so B-Breed saying, I'm not trapped in here with you, you're trapped in here with me! I think only 1 SCV went down there. 1 SCV for, what was that, 5-6 Lings? That's a decent trade. So, yeah. We do have that third base finally starting up for Kevin Lee. Creep spread starting as well. Only 1 creep queen. Typically, I like to see more queens out of the Zerg player. Wouldn't mind seeing them go up to like 10 queens. Spread creep everywhere. You can transfuse later on. They're great anti-air. They're tanky units as well if you want to just lead the charge with your defense. Just an excellent unit. They don't cost larva. They're so good. But here are the 6 Hellions. Gonna start damaging this frontal queen. No micro out of Kevin. He's gonna let that queen just burn. That was pretty brutal to watch. Miscontrol there from B-Breed, just allowing 1 Hellion to die there. Does pull back the weakened ones this time around. And another queen does go down, and looks like another one as well. And is this actually gonna end the game? This is crazy. Just 6, well now it's 7 Hellions, and oh, the Lings do come out from Kevin, and the target fire not really optimal from B-Breed. Only 4 drones going down. That could have been a lot worse for the Zerg player, but all in all, decent start for both players. I think it's pretty even. Yeah, a little bit more minerals lost there from the Zerg. And oh no, the Lings run in once again, but there is enough behind the wall. So B-Breed does find himself a 14 supply lead. However, layer is done already, and it's gonna be a Nidus this time around. Kevin pulling out all the tricks, and we do have this speedy Overseer. Gonna be looking for a spot to drop that Nidus, and it's all gonna come down to whether or not B-Breed is paying attention to the minimap. You do see that his army supply is up 29 to the 20 of the Zerg, so on paper he should be able to contest with whatever Kevin throws his way. But the surprise factor of the Nidus could make all the difference. We do have that Nidus network finished, but nothing loading in just yet. These roaches, looks like they want to go in there eventually. We've got Burrow on the way as well. This is a little bit spicy out of the Zerg player. Burrow movement being researched as well, and now Roach is going to be loading up into the Nidus network. And B-Breed, let's take a look at his vision. He does spot it, but is he paying attention? Yes, it looks like he is. That's good awareness, but is it too late? I think he was a little slow to pull his units, but it should be good enough. The tank does siege, and I think it should be okay. Marines with medevac support. Roach is not really that great to begin with. And Kevin just gonna kind of sacrifice all the roaches here, and doesn't really get a whole lot. Only 3 SCVs. And now B-Breed can take out that Nidus network. I think that's a very successful hold. You do see that reflected in the supply count. 111 to 76 of the Zerg. Got 53 SCVs to 46. And everything coming up B-Breed right now. What's going to be the follow-up from Kevin as that failed Nidus network didn't do him any favors? It's going to be a Hydralisk Den. So Roach Hydra going to be the composition of choice. Not an excellent composition in this matchup, and certainly not against Bio Tank, but he's made it work before. Let's see if he can do it again. His upgrade's pretty good. 2-2 on the way. B-Breed still sitting at 0-0. So that's one thing Kevin has going for him, but that's about the only thing. Got a 4th base on the way as well for B-Breed. Actually, likewise for the Zerg. But every other metric going to be favoring the Terran player. 81 army to 53 of the Zerg. Now, luckily, he does spot that, so he does have a little bit of a heads up for when this is coming. A couple changelings mixed in as well, just being annoying. Just taxing the APM and awareness of the Terran player. And when is he going to go for this attack? I think certainly has a huge potential here to deal a crippling blow to the Zerg. Tanks do siege up in time, so this is going to be super hard to deal with. Kevin going to give up this base entirely, and wisely so. He wants to buy more time, wait for his 2-2 to finish, wait for more reinforcements. And that's going to be his only chance. But more Terran units streaming across the map. I wouldn't mind seeing perhaps a counter attack just to spice things up a little bit, but Kevin gonna focus entirely onto this defense for now. It looks like B-Breed, he is venturing onto creep. He's pushing forward. Gonna start dancing with these units, firing a little bit, pulling back, trying to bait them into the tank fire. And yes, exactly this. You want to leapfrog your tanks up. Do not go for a big unsiege. Just unsiege them one at a time. Re-siege them a little bit further. B-Breed being very careful with his play here. And ooh, Kevin going for the burrow, but not really going to be able to utilize that. There's just too much tank fire. And oh, does go for it once again, and oh, that one Roach kind of betraying the others, and that causes Kevin to abandon that burrow movement. But maybe could have had a chance there. Now all these units very bruised up. 2-2 did finish, so if there ever was a time, it would be in these next 30 or so seconds before B-Breed's 2-2 finishes up as well. Scan going down just to see what the Zerg has, and continuing to inch forward. A lot of units back here not really doing anything. A bit of a mistake there from the Terran, but here he goes, and looks like Kevin wants to go right now, but wading into a lot of tank fire, and that's not what you want to have happen. Zerg supply plummets down to 79, and with it, I think his hopes of winning this game as well. However, the Terran reinforcements not really helping out. So Kevin, well, he does end up GGing. So B-Breed able to tie things up, one apiece. Welcome back. This is the third and potentially, but hopefully not, final game of the series. It is, once again, the Teal Terran B-Breed going up against the Red Zerg Kevin Lee. We are all tied up 1-1 off the back of a failed Nidus. And just a great attack out of B-Breed to close the show there. And what are we going to see this time around from this cheeky boy here? He does love to bring out the aggression. Nidus didn't work out for him last time. Does he have the balls to try it again? Maybe a different type of Nidus? Who knows? We shall have to wait and see. Now B-Breed going to be walling up at the front of his natural once again. And this time sending out an SCV scout. He hasn't done this in the last 2 games, but this time perhaps just wants to be extra careful, checking for any super fast pool, I suppose, as he does just queue up that SCV to go all the way back home. Spots that hatchery coming up, so sees that things are pretty standard. And I hope that last game gave B-Breed some confidence. He wasn't feeling too hot about his chances in this particular matchup, but having won a fairly convincing game number 2, hopefully it gives him some confidence to maybe take more games off of his opponent here. Overlords once again in pretty Garbaggio positions. Really should be floating them over to these safe spots, maybe out here, back of the main. Pretty useless in these positions because you're gonna have creep there in the next minute or so anyways. I guess it does give him a slight heads up to this Reaper, but who cares? You're gonna have Zerglings anyway, just like that. In the last 2 games, B-Breed kind of loiters this Reaper out and then eventually it loses it once the Zerglings get speed. Hopefully he fixes that up. I would like to see him at least jump into the main and get some scouting information. Maybe check for the lair timing, check for Baneling Nest, Spire, etc. No, Kevin going to be doing his Kevin things, continuing to mine gas. No third base in sight just yet, of course. It's going to be another barracks. So, pretty much the same opening from B-Breed, double Hellions in production. This time the Reaper does go all the way back home, so not going to lose its life to these Zerglings. Still would have liked to see him check for the third timing, check for the lair timing, etc. But yeah, Zerglings just kind of poking around, trying to see if they can find an open door. They do not, so they're going to run back home, it looks like. Now Kevin this time around staying on hatchery tech. and actually droning up pretty heavily. Does start off that layer, and again, queen count leaving a bit to be desired. Only got this one creep queen. And here's that Hellion Reaper hit squad once again. They are gonna be spotted by that Overlord, but here they come. Those Lings gonna be enough. Depends on the engagement. But these Hellions gonna start working away at this Queen. Does get one of them. And the Zerglings do push forward. They end up running back once again. Now reinforcing Lings do show up. So B-Breed should try to get out of there now. And forcing that many Lings is damage in and of itself. Ideally, they would have liked to be drones. So 31 SCVs to 36 drones. That is closer than it ought to be. And once again, we have the tried and true Spire play out of our Zerg player. Whoop, 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 whoop. Big Ling run by. Is the door open? Oh no, it is! And a little bit of indecisiveness by Kevin, but he does end up running in, taking out all of these Marines. It looks like the Widowmine's slow to burrow, but it is a cleanup in the end. And I don't think any SCVs really went down, so that was an okay trade there. Favoring the Terran player at just a tad. The main thing here is going to be the Spire finishing up within the next few seconds, and B-Breed does not even have an engineering bay in sight. His Marine count very low. Widowmines, only 2 of them. And there's the double engineering bay, but is it too late as we already have 6 mutas in the production tab? Now 6, not a huge number, but still enough to cause quite a headache. But B-Breed just going for the offensive instead, and that's not a bad choice either. Mutas, of course, not great in the heads-up engagement. We'll have to see how this goes. Don't forget these Ling Banes on the ground as well, so it's gonna come down to how these fights go. The Banes do complete in time, and oh, not really any splits out of the Terran player, losing the brunt of his bio in the front there. The Mutas do clean up a few of the medevacs, but they do have to run away from the Widowmines. Kevin does have a 20 supply lead. Much of that is in army. 6 mutas not looking too scary right now. Looks like he is going to try to use them for some harassment. But B-Breed has successfully bought himself enough time to get up missile turrets. Might be able to find an angle in the refinery, maybe chip away at these engineering bays. Kevin can certainly still find a way to be annoying with these mutas, but I don't really see them doing too much. And now B-Breed, see that those mutas are there. Maybe that's going to push him to commence the attack, and indeed he is moving forward, sieging up this tank in a very annoying spot here behind the rocks. But Kevin just pulling the trigger, just running forth with just about everything. Does lose a lot of units, does not even get that tank. And meanwhile, all the mutas going down. Maybe Kevin was not paying attention. Maybe he dove onto this missile turret, which has 3 kills. So things suddenly looking pretty decent for the Terran here. Kevin, nothing in the production tab. What's happening? He's snoozing right now, and now he does start up 9 mutas and 7 banelings. But is it gonna finish in time? I guess yes, if B-Breed doesn't keep pressing forward, and the Banelings do finish up. 9 Muta is going to be popping out shortly, so Kevin, I think he is essentially out of the woods. Only 1 tank and 1 Widow Mine. Probably not gonna be able to end the game here. These Mutas just trying to be annoying. Maybe they can find that tank. Yeah, he does dive on the tank, but it does cost him a handful of Mutas. The Marines try to take out this 4th in production, but they do get cleaned up as well. But Lings and Banes, they did all go down, it looks like. So once again, things kind of evening up. This isn't really enough units to continue the onslaught. And likewise, Kevin doesn't have enough to clean up the Terran either. With these reinforcing Zerglings, he should be able to get away. Does have to be mindful of the Mutas once again. You don't want to lose them. No, drop off. No, losing another full medevac. He does regroup with some reinforcements, and there is 1-1 upgrades on these bio units, so they are pretty good. 0-0 on the Zerg, so these engagements are going to be favoring the Terran quite a bit. No upgrades in sight even for the Zerg player. No evolution chambers at that. So things looking pretty decent for B-Breed. He is dropping down that 3rd command center. And Kevin with a lot of money in the bank. Hold on. Let me check the player names real quick. Is this Timbo? No, it's Kevin. What is going on here? It looks like he wants to switch things up into a Hydralisk then. But as he builds that, 11 more Mutas on the way as well. And I think that's going to be Kevin's downfall. Can't really engage this army with Mutas. There's not really any openings in the main base. I guess he can find a little bit of damage on some of these fringe buildings. But 16 Mutas, that's very expensive, and they're not going to help too much as long as these Marines are alive. But maybe if the Lings and Banes can clean up the Marines, then the Mutas have free reign. The siege tanks do get cleaned up. That base there did end up going down, and Kevin gonna swarm over the bio units with his Ling Bane army. They do clean up all the Terran forces there, but heavy losses on the Zerg side as well. However, Kevin with a 30 supply lead at the moment. Not sure how he managed that, but here come the Mutas. Will they be able to find some damage? This 3rd base not mining. Oh no, these drones, what are you doing? But Mutas going to start harassing at this 3rd base. Decide to go for the main instead, and that's enough Mutas to take on the missile turrets. Does Kevin want to do that? If B-Breed controls properly, he could repair, and that could be annoying. So Kevin going to settle for the refinery there. 30 more Banelings on the way, and all of a sudden things are looking really good for the Zerg. Worker count very low, but the army going to be favoring Kevin quite significantly. His own 1-1 finally starting up, about halfway done. 2-2 for B-Breed just starting up. Also have +1 flyer on the way as well, and Hive in production. Now the creep spread does leave a lot to be desired. Mutas poke in once again, take out a missile turret, but that's about all they can find. They do force out a stim on these units. That's not nothing. And yeah, 10 damage onto each of these units. That comes out to be like 100 something damage, so not too shabby. Does force the medevacs to use their healing. There's only one medevac right now, so every little bit helps for either player. But this Lingbane army looking a bit juicy right now. 82 to 65, and Muta's still roaming around the map. Those workers did end up going back to work. Lockdown is over. Gotta go back to work. And Muta's once again poking around, finding some damage onto this tank. And like I said, every little bit helps, forcing yet another stim there. But B-Breed did do a decent job catching back up in the supply. We do have a 4th command center in production, and Thor's taking to the field as well. Thor's obviously super good against Mutas, splash damage, and they're great at soaking up Banelings as well, so kind of just forcing the Zerg player to micro a little bit more than he would like to. Muta's at the top. Gonna be looking for another angle here, and they are gonna find maybe a factory, maybe a siege tank, but no. Bio and Thor is here, but Hive is here as well. Lurker Den is up and running. We've got some lurkers in production, and we do know B-Breed does struggle very much against lurkers. He did a pretty decent job defending against the Mutas this game, but can he defend against the lurkers? I don't know. Worker count still very even, very low out of the Zerg, only 60 drones, and maybe if B-Breed can continue to defend and just kind of outmine and take the better engagements, because the Zerg army does tend to be more squishy. They tend to have to row stuff at their opponent and remax a couple times, so the low drone count, low bank could work against Kevin here, but of course that will mean he has a large army. Now Kevin going for a cheeky lurker drop. Let's see if that is successful. Some scans going down, not really seeing a whole lot. And I don't think he even knows lurkers are available yet. One thing to point out is Kevin got the upgrades in the wrong order. He got the burrow speed first and did not get the range yet, so that's going to hurt him a little bit, as these lurkers not going to have huge range. We do have some ghosts out of B-Breed, does snipe down one lurker, but that's all he had energy for. Oh no! So he does pull back a lot of his army to deal with this, but he does clean that up eventually. Not sure why he felt the need to drop the scan. You got 2 missile turrets here, buddy. And oh no, make that 1, because 1 does burn down. And here come the Mutas once again. They don't really want to fight the missile turret, although they probably could. Just going to settle for a refinery and maybe a couple SCVs. And that's not bad. But the Mutas taking some heavy fire from the Thors. We got a question in the chat. You need energy to snipe? Yes, of course. What do you think this is? And all the Mutas do end up going down, but honestly, I think Kevin wanted to just throw them away. He's got so much money in the bank, he wants to spend those on more effective army units. And it's going to be some Hydras and Lurkers. We still have, of course, a lot of Lingbane on the field. Kind of forgot about Adrenal Glands. He is starting that now. But yeah, looks like things are going to settle down for a bit. Creep spread still not great. I guess Kevin still only has how many? 5 queens for his 5 hatcheries, so none of them really dedicated to spreading creep, and that does show in this kind of strange creep progression. So we see it kind of just went boop, 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 boop. Normally we see them spread out in all ways, but yeah. And B-Breed taking yet another base in the bottom right, so economy-wise, he's doing just fine, but does he have an answer to all these lurkers? Oh my goodness, that's a lot of lurkers. How is the ghost control going to be from this Terran player? He did research Cloak, and he is getting a nuke as well, but here comes Kevin. Oh my god, this is a crazy attack. Are the ghosts going to do anything? No, it looks like most of them going to get blown up by banelings, actually. Heavy casualties on both sides. Blinding clouds going down as well. Not sure on what. But Kevin taking a 30 supply lead. We do have some ghosts cloaked over here. Gonna start sniping. And that's not bad. But they do run out of energy. The Vipers do yoink in a few of the ghosts into the lurker fire. And what does B-Breed have left to defend against this? The lurker is just going to march forward into the natural base of the Terran. And Kevin remaxing on 36 Hydras. Hail Hydra. And I think B-Breed is just about down and out in this game. He's going to try to counterattack with a handful of Marines and SCVs even, but that's not really going to do a whole lot. More ghosts going down in the main base, and that is gonna be all she wrote in this game number 3. Unfortunately, B-Breed put up a good fight up until he did not. And Lurker's just a little bit too strong. The ghost control a little bit too poor. GG gets called, and Kevin gonna take game number 3.